India's parliament has just witnessed a rare legislative failure that signals a deeper structural conflict within the country's political system. A constitutional amendment backed by Narendra Modi did not pass, despite his government having dominated national politics for over a decade. At the center of the dispute is a proposal to reserve one-third of parliamentary seats for women, but the reform was tied to a controversial plan to redraw electoral boundaries. Nearly 530 lawmakers participated in the vote, yet the bill failed to secure the two-thirds majority required for constitutional amendments. What initially appeared to be a straightforward expansion of gender representation has instead exposed a complex and unresolved struggle over how political power is distributed in the world's largest democracy. The origins of this conflict lie in India's delimitation process, a constitutional mechanism that redraws parliamentary constituencies based on population data. The last major delimitation exercise was conducted using the 1971 census. After that, the system was effectively frozen to avoid penalizing states that had successfully controlled population growth through policy interventions. Since then, India's population has grown to over 1.4 billion. But the distribution of parliamentary seats has not been proportionally updated. The current proposal aimed to increase the number of seats in the lower house from 543 to approximately 850, bringing representation closer to present-day demographic realities. However, this technical adjustment carries significant political consequences. Southern states such as Tamil Nadu and Kerala have experienced slower population growth due to more effective public health and education policies. In contrast, northern states like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar have seen faster population increases. A redistribution of seats based on current population would therefore shift parliamentary influence toward the north. This creates a structural tension between two principles: demographic equity, where representation reflects population size, and regional balance, where states are not penalized for successful population control. This tension has made delimitation one of the most sensitive federal issues in India. The controversy intensified because the government linked delimitation with the implementation of women's reservation. Opposition leaders argued that combining these two issues transformed a widely supported social reform into a vehicle for broader political restructuring. Figures such as Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra framed the proposal as an attempt to advance delimitation under the cover of gender quotas. Gaurav Gogoi suggested that the government was effectively pushing through electoral boundary changes indirectly, while Shashi Tharoor raised concerns that linking the two issues subordinated women's political representation to a contentious territorial exercise. On the government side, Amit Shah emphasized the principle of equal voter representation, arguing that constituency sizes should reflect current population realities. From this perspective, delimitation is a democratic necessity, ensuring that each vote carries similar weight regardless of geography. The administration also maintained that linking the reforms would expedite the implementation of women's quotas, which had already been approved in principle in 2023, but were scheduled for delayed implementation until at least 2029 due to procedural requirements involving census data and constituency restructuring. Regional political actors played a decisive role in shaping the outcome. In Tamil Nadu, Chief Minister M.K. Stalin strongly opposed the measure, arguing that it effectively penalized states that had successfully managed population growth. His party, the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, staged protests in parliament, signaling that the issue had moved beyond procedural disagreement into a broader contest over federal fairness and political representation. Similar concerns were echoed in other southern states, where leaders fear a long-term reduction in political influence. Ultimately, parliamentary arithmetic determined the outcome. Constitutional amendments in India require a two-thirds majority of members present and voting. The bill secured 298 votes in favor and 230 against, falling short of the threshold. This marked the first time in 12 years that a constitutional amendment proposed by the current government failed to pass, highlighting both the limits of its coalition strength and the ability of a coordinated opposition to block structural reforms. Two potential scenarios now emerge from this situation. In the first scenario, the government chooses to decouple women's reservation from delimitation and reintroduce a narrower bill focused solely on gender representation. This approach could attract wider support across parties, enabling the long-delayed implementation of quotas for women in parliament. It would also reduce immediate tensions with southern states. However, this strategy would leave the issue of delimitation unresolved, postponing the broader question of how to align representation with demographic realities. In the second scenario, the government continues to pursue a combined approach, attempting to build consensus or expand its parliamentary support. This would involve negotiations with regional parties and potentially adjustments to the delimitation framework to address concerns about disproportionate power shifts. If successful, this approach could achieve both objectives simultaneously: increased female representation and a rebalanced electoral map. However, if consensus cannot be reached, it risks prolonging legislative gridlock and intensifying regional polarization, particularly between northern and southern states. A third, less explicit scenario involves incremental progress through procedural mechanisms, where elements of both reforms are implemented over time without a single comprehensive legislative package. This could involve phased adjustments to constituency boundaries alongside gradual implementation of women's quotas. While this approach may reduce immediate political resistance, it could also lead to prolonged uncertainty and administrative complexity. The broader implications of this debate extend beyond India's internal politics. As one of the world's largest democracies and a major global actor, India's governance model is closely observed internationally. Prolonged disputes over representation and federal balance could affect perceptions of institutional stability and policy continuity. Conversely, a resolution that balances demographic fairness with regional equity could strengthen confidence in India's democratic processes and reinforce its credibility on the global stage. The intersection of gender inclusion and electoral restructuring has further complicated this dynamic. While there is broad support across the political spectrum for increasing women's representation, linking it to delimitation has transformed a consensus issue into a contested one. This reflects the difficulty of implementing multiple structural reforms simultaneously, particularly when they interact with deeply embedded political and regional interests. Looking ahead, the trajectory of this issue will depend on how political actors navigate the balance between incremental reform and comprehensive restructuring. Signals to watch include whether the government separates the two issues in future legislative efforts, how regional parties position themselves in negotiations, and whether alternative frameworks for delimitation emerge that address concerns about fairness.